Today we're going to be learning about surface area of cylinders. I would like you to have two colors as of highlighters to fill along the notes and shade your bases and your height along with me. Copy along and then you will do some practice after you are finished. Cylinders are very similar to prisms that we learned all last week. They do have two bases on them. However, cylinders have two bases that are, as you can see, circles. So if you would, I would like you to shade those in so you can remember that the cylinder has a circle base on top and it has a circle base on bottom. We did learn about cylinders when we did volume. However, we're not talking about filling the shape up in the inside. Today we're talking about the area, meaning how much to go around the outside to cover all the cylinder from top to bottom. And so it's made of two bases that are circles, and one curved lateral surface, meaning the lateral surface is the surface around the shape. You have one that goes around the shape, and you have your two bases. The height of any cylinder is the distance between the two circular bases. Just like with the prism, we measured our height being from one point of our base to the other point of our base. This doesn't have any points, but you still have it from the top to the bottom. It stretches along the side. And we did practice that with volume, so you should be a little used to that. So let's continue on. If a cylinder were unfolded, as if I were to take scissors and cut along this line, then we would have a net. And if we unfolded it, you would have a top, you would have a bottom, and this would unwrap to look like this. As you can see, we would have two circular bases that are congruent. These are congruent. And then we would have a lateral base that stretches out and makes a rectangle. If you think about if you were to cut a can of soup or the label on the can of soup, it would unfold, it would roll out flat like a rectangle. Inside each 2D shape, write your formula that you would use to find the area of it because we're wanting to cover it. So if I would typically, on a rectangle, I would do base times height, or length times width. That's what you would on a regular rectangle. On circles, the area formula would be pi times radius squared. Pi times radius squared. Which you really would only have to find one of these since they're both congruent, and that makes them the same exact area. But if you're wanting to cover the whole entire shape, you would have to cover all the label, the lateral surface area, plus your two bases. And I'm going to go ahead and shade those in just so you remember. There's my two bases, and this would be the lateral surface area. This is the same height right here. The width of this is the same height as the cylinder. And then the distance around it, that's what we're fixing to talk about, because I don't really have a base of a rectangle. There isn't a line that's going across there. So let's read to see how these formulas are set up. It says the table below shows the formulas used to find the lateral and total surface area of cylinders. This one right here is straight from your formula chart, and it says 2 pi RH. But when we were doing prisms, the formula was just pH. Lateral surface area was pH. That's because we could take the perimeter of our base. We could add up all four sides or all three sides depending on if it was a triangle or a rectangle. But now it's a circle. I can't just add all the sides of a circle. That doesn't work. When I go around a circle, I don't know if you remember from 6th or 7th grade, it would be called the circumference. And circumference on your formula chart states that it's 2 pi r. So perimeter and circumference are the same thing times the height. And if you look, they already filled in all the work for you. They already told you what circumference or perimeter of a circle is. It's 2 times pi times radius. And then you just times it by your height. Over here, you have the same formula as you did with prisms, except with prisms, it said S equals PH plus 2B. And I would have to find the perimeter of my base, which we just talked about is circumference with the circle, that's this part. And then times how tall it is, because I want to wrap around the whole label. And then I add my 2 area of my bases. So instead of just writing a big B, they actually did the work for you. They wrote what the area of a circle formula is for you. So the only numbers that you're not given is the radius and the height. Radius and height. So let's look at this because this is kind of a good question. Explain why the formula for lateral of the area of a cylinder is 2 pi RH rather than BH. Well, if you look at this, like I just said, if I just unwrap a round label and fold it out flat, I do create a rectangle. But when it's actually on the can, it's a round shape. So I am not given this whole base of my rectangle. I'm not just given it because it's not truly a rectangle like when I'm wrapping it around. It's curved. It's not laying flat. So that means that I have to use 2 pi r, which is my circumference, to be the same length as my base of my rectangle because this will wrap together all the way to form that cylinder. On here, and you can write that in your own words as well, right there. Explain what makes the formula for total different from lateral. So you need to explain like what the total surface area covers compared to what the lateral surface area covers. And I'll let you can pause this and you can fill in like what's the difference of these two things. Let's go on to right here. Excuse the speaker. Use the table to help you find the lateral surface area. If you notice, this cylinder right now is not standing correctly. It should be looking like this, but instead it tumped over on its side. Think of a Pringles can. If you were to lay it down, it still will stand up and be a tall Pringles can, but right now it's on its side. So I have my height that connects my 2 bases because my base is down here. I know it's a circle and a circle. So if you need to stand your paper up the correct way, that way you can. Otherwise, you just look at that. And if I see that this is going halfway across, that makes this a radius. This is my height. I have all the numbers I'm going to need. So all I need to do is write my formula because that's step 1. Step 2, plug them in. Step 3, solve it in your calculator. So my formula for lateral surface area is right up here. I would write S equals 2 times pi times r times h. I want to go around the circle, the cylinder, and times it by how tall. Because if I took string and I wrapped it around, and then I wrapped it around again, and I wrapped it around again, it would cover all of this space. Then if I want total, I will take that and I will add on my 2 area of my bases with string, covering the inside of the circle. So that formula is a little bit longer, 2 pi RH plus our 2 area of our bases, which are pi radius squared. So I'm going to plug in each of the numbers I need, which is only the radius and the height. It does say use 3.14 right here for pi. That's your choice. You should get close enough. Even if you wanted to use the pi button, you still should get close enough to the correct answer. I will use the 3.14 if you want to have the same answer as me. So if I plug in the numbers, I would have 2 times 3.14 times my radius, which is right here, a 6, times my height of 13, and I would plug that all directly into the calculator, and I would get my surface area equals 489.84, and it would be just units squared, since they didn't have any centimeters or inches or feet on that. And this is only the distance around my shape, only the big long rectangular part that would unfold if I went around the shape. On here, I fill out the same information, same thing, 2 times 3.14 times 6 times 13, plus now I have my, hold on, and now I will go to adding in my 2 area of my bases. So now once I type all of that in, the lateral plus my 2 bases, you should end up getting 715.92 units squared. This should be everything on the cylinder that you could cover. It usually comes out to be a whole lot bigger than this, depending on how big your bases are. Let's try one each on the back, and then you can finish filling in the notes. We'll try one that's lateral, and then we'll try one that is total surface area. So lateral, if I wanted to find the lateral of this, that means no bases. No bases. You do need to shade them just so you know, because you will have to have the radius and the height of them. So we have our circle bases shaded, and here is my height. Always pay attention to if they give you the radius or if they give you the diameter, because diameter is not part of any of the formula. So you would have to cut your diameter in half. For instance, like number 6, how it has the 11 go all the way across. So on here, on lateral, I would write my formula, S equals 2 pi r times the height. 2 pi r, remember, is just your C. Circumference times the height. That's all it is the distance around the circle times the height. So I would say 2 times 3.14 times 2.5 times 7. And I will let you type that into the calculator to see what you come up with. And it will be centimeters squared when you type it in. Now let's try this one without a picture, and let's do total surface area. So on this, I want everything, the whole big long formula on here. You would fill in this as well, and you could tell me what the lateral would be. Over here, you could fill in, we've already done the first part of the formula, you'll finish the back. So I would write S equals 2 pi RH plus 2 pi r squared, because I want the whole thing, the circumference times the height, plus 2 of my area of my bases. So that'd be 2 times 3.14 times, it says a cylinder, with a diameter of 21. So if the diameter is 21, I have to cut that in half, because a radius is only half of that, and that would be 10.5. Then I have a height of 15. They're all in inches, so I don't have to convert anything. And I would continue plugging them in, times 10.5 times 15. That all right there is the same thing as your lateral surface area. Plus 2 times 3.14 times 10.5 squared. So this big long formula, you need to type straight into your calculator to see what it calculates. You should get S equals some big number, inches squared when you're finished. You don't have to rework it all out if you didn't want to. You could just type in the front part of this formula and you would already have the lateral completed, since we wrote it all out. Lateral plus your bases make total. So now finish it up, and you're going to go practice the rest of the cylinder problems. Thank you.